Hey y'all, it's Taylor from Tattoo Teacher Plans. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Today we are doing a Q&A and I decided to do a little planner advice edition. So I asked you guys questions that you may have or topics that you want my advice on, and here we are. So it's just going to be a quick Q&A of all of my opinions about these things. So there are several different topics. I will leave the topics and timestamps down in the description if you want to skip around, but let's get started. So the first section is goal planning, and I really just have one question in this category, but it was an important one. So the question was, where do I start with goal planning, especially with it being September? So my advice here is to start really small, maybe with just a to-do list for each day or for the week. Then you can expand out as you get more comfortable with it, but it may take you a couple of weeks or months to even just get comfortable with weekly planning. Think about what you need to get done in the next week and what will move you forward toward those things. Then you can branch out to more purposeful goal planning, like planning out your whole month or getting really specific from week to week. And don't try to push it. You really just need to go at your own pace. Once you're comfortable, you can branch out into more monthly planning and more specific things, kind of fine-tuning your methods. And everyone has their own method. There's no right way to do goal planning. It's just whatever works for you. And remember that no week or month is perfect. If you need to skip a week or month, do it. Do whatever's best for you. And if you need to scale back on what you're doing, do that too. I do it all the time, and it really keeps me moving forward instead of just like giving up. So this next section, I'm just calling the basics because it just covers some basic questions about decorative planning. The first one here is, how do I keep from overspending? I've learned a lot in my past 5 years being here in the community, and especially here on YouTube, just exposing myself to everyone and my planning style and all of that. I've gotten a lot of questions about budgeting and things, and while I never really share like numbers and stuff like that, I do have some pointers for you. One of them is to plan out which kits you're going to use each week. I use a spreadsheet, a Google Sheet, and I do have a template that I have shared before. So if you want that template, email me or DM me on Instagram. I will send you the link for that. The new one will be coming out soon because we're going to be planning for New Year's before we know it. The other thing is to set a budget for yourself and stick to it. My budget has changed over the years, and it's just kind of ebbed and flowed with my income and with my YouTube income. And so do whatever is best for you. There's a lot of comparing that happens in the community, and you really just have to do what's best for yourself and your budget. You can also intentionally buy with purpose, and one way to do this is to save posts from shops as they post pictures of their new releases, and then go back at the end of the week and decide, what do I actually want to buy, or what could I have impulse purchased? Because that does happen from time to time, but if you kind of like go back to those saved posts and really think about each one and what you want to purchase, you may kind of weed out some of those things that you didn't really want or didn't really need. Also, shops offer mini kits often, and some even offer individual sheets, and that is a really good option if you are on a budget or if you don't want to overspend. You can choose which sheets you want, or you can get that mini kit option and just make it work, which is what I do. There was a question about the Moxie Life vertical. I do have one, and I am planning on doing a video on a kit in a Moxie Life because that was one of the video requests I got recently. So this person asked, I'm thinking about switching to the Moxie Life vertical for 2022. Do vertical kits fit in them, or any kind of kits? And yes, they do. The columns are the standard 1.5, which is pretty standard across the community now, and they do fit. So I will go ahead and do that plan with me soon, probably in the next couple weeks, and you can see it like in action, but they do fit. You may have to trim some things because there's not space between the columns, so you may have to trim like your bottom washi, but that's no big deal. Okay, this is a really good question, and it's one that we don't really talk about that often, but is like actually important for people who are entering the community, and that is planner must-haves when you're getting started. So here are my things that I would, if I could go back in time, I would want. One of them is a planner, any kind of planner, whatever works for you. You don't need something fancy. It can even be just a journal or just a really simple planner from Target. Whatever is in your budget, go with that. A good whiteout is really important too. I prefer the Tombow. While they are like pricier than others, they are the best, and I think they're a good investment. You can get a really good deal on Amazon and then have like a whole like 10 pack for the entire year, and it just is the best, and I highly recommend it. The other thing is some non-stick scissors. These are not pricey. You can get them anywhere, any craft store, Walmart, Target, anywhere. But it's important to get the non-stick because they won't stick to the stickers. Everyone has their own preference when it comes to pens, but a good pen is something to always have. My current favorite is the Pentel Energel Infree in .7. It's just so good. But whatever your preference is, whether it's ballpoint, I'm sorry, I hate ballpoint, but whatever your preference is, go with that. Also, an X-Acto knife is a really good thing to have, especially if you're going to be trimming things. I prefer a just X-Acto knife. You can like get in there really close and see where you're cutting, and they stay sharp for a really long time. The other two things are just like things that are nice to have. So a washi cutter of some kind. This could be just a ruler, like a plastic or a metal ruler, or it could be like an actual washi cutter from various shops sell them. But something to cut your washi with, and that could be your X-Acto knife, by the way. And then something to keep your stuff in. This is something I wish I would have had early on, but some kind of caddy. I eventually moved to a like fishing tackle box that my granddad had. It's like right behind me right there. And I still use it. I love that thing when I travel, especially if I need to take a lot of stuff. That's just really handy. But any kind of caddy works, or even a planner cart if you want to get real fancy. Okay, this is kind of in the financial realm too, as a first question in this category. How to save money. I want my planner to be cute, but I can't afford all the kits. So my suggestion is to start really small. Say go to Michael's and Joann's and just pick up a couple of things like washi, and they have some really good stickers at Michael's and Joann's that work really well for decorative planning when you're first starting out. So definitely go for that option instead of going straight to planner shops. Also, shop sales. So if you find shops that you really like, follow them on Instagram, and then you can save their sale post and like set reminders for yourself of when you need to actually shop those sales. Also, stretching kits. So this is something that a lot of people do. They'll buy like an ultimate kit or like the biggest kit available, but then they'll stretch it over 2 to 3 weeks. And that's a really good option for people who either are more functional than decorative, but still want like cuteness, but also to save money. So that's a really good option. Also, if you can buy those individual sheets from shops, go for that too, because then you can get just what you need. And then as you get more comfortable, you can try out some different things. This next category is time management. I got quite a few questions that I kind of combined into like 3 or 4 questions here, and I thought these were good to go over because this isn't talked about a lot, but it's something that I'm always curious about. Like, how do people get their planning done, especially if you do more time-consuming planning like decorative planning? Okay, the first question was, how much time do you devote each week to planning? And I never seem to find my groove. So this has evolved over time. I had to really just use trial and error to figure out what worked for me. For my daily planning in my plum paper vertical priorities, which is this one, it's 2 to 7 minutes a day. And then on Sundays, I will set up my spread, and that takes anywhere from 10 to 18 minutes, depending on how chatty I'm being when I'm filming the first part of it. So really not that much time for my daily planner. Memory planning takes between 30 and 45 minutes a week, and I usually try to do those on Tuesday or Wednesday of each week. And then goal planning takes me about each week, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And then if I'm doing my monthly goals, that takes a little bit longer. That may take like an hour or so, and add a little bit more if I'm filming it. So it's what works best for me, but it definitely has changed. I used to spend a lot more time on my spreads, but as my system has evolved and kind of simplified in certain areas, it's less time. But the daily planning is the one that makes the biggest difference for me. The memory planning is just kind of fun, and it's a time for me to reflect. So each one has their purpose, and I set aside time each week for those things. But again, Just do whatever works for you. Okay, this is an important one. What do I do when I don't want to plan? This is something that also we just don't really talk about that much. Sometimes you just need a break from planning, whether life has gotten crazy, you're going through something, and you just need to take a break. So here's my advice. If you don't feel like planning, then don't. There is no shame in taking a break. It doesn't make you less productive, and it doesn't take anything away from you and like your life. Something you can do to get back into planning after taking that break is to just scale back. Start with a notepad and just make a to-do list. Or some of those weekly notepads are really helpful to just kind of plan out your week, a snapshot of it, and just see, what do I have to get done this week? And just keep the fluff out of it until you're ready to like add back in more fun things or things that you want to do but you just don't have the energy for. Also, this may be a really good time to reevaluate your system and see what is actually working for me and what do I need to take out or change, because that has definitely happened to me in January when I couldn't plan because my hand was like all messed up from my accident. I was forced to reevaluate, and it actually ended up being a really good thing because I found some better things that were just going to work more in my favor than what I was using. Okay, this last one about time is also really important because I don't show you like everything that I do. I do a lot of stuff off camera and I just don't, maybe I should, but I don't necessarily share a lot of it. But this question is, how do you manage consistent planner time while you're working? So I actually am more productive during the school year than I am in the summertime when I have more time. And one of those things is just having a schedule. So I check in with my planner every single day. I check it before I leave for work in the morning, and I also sit down with my planner, and I'm talking about this one, my vertical priorities everyday planner, when I get home from work, which is usually around 5 every day. And I just see what I need to do in the evening. That morning check-in is important to just see what I have coming up so I can just be prepared for it. I also set aside time on Saturdays and Sundays to film and edit. That's not my super preference, but it's just what I have to do right now. It works for me. A lot of people talk about like batch filming and editing, and I've tried it and it doesn't work for me right now. Not to say it won't or it doesn't work for somebody else. It just hasn't worked for me yet. It's always something I think about. But for me, Saturday and Sunday, like setting aside time for that is helpful. I also have a set day for my memory planning, and that is Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Sometimes it gets pushed to like Friday or Saturday, but that's what I try to do is I try to get my pictures printed and pick those up, and then I will work on that in the first part of the week. I try to like space everything out so it's not all on the weekend. I really have figured out like the best way to film and edit for my style as well. And that's, again, just something that comes with experience. I know what I like and what looks good to me when I'm filming and editing. So I do purposeful things when I'm filming and also editing. I just have like a routine of what I do to set up my video, and then I go through and edit. So that's just something that comes with time. Also, just full disclosure, I get behind sometimes, or I just get uninspired, and so I need to take a step back. So if I ever drop down to 2 videos or 1 video a week, you know that I'm just like, I need a break, or I just don't have any ideas. And often I will go to Instagram like I did for this video, and I get like crowdsource information from you guys to see what do I want to do and just get like some fresh ideas. So that does happen for me too. I try to film ahead. It just doesn't really happen. So again, with the batch content stuff, I want to do that. It just hasn't worked for me yet. Okay, this section I'm calling Being Yourself. And this is, again, something that just comes with experience and time. The first question is, how do you stick with what's functional for you without getting planner spread envy? This has definitely happened to me where I like see someone's style and I'm like, oh, I want to emulate that, or I want to like try something they're doing. And then it just doesn't work for me because it's not me. And I've found that when I do what I want to do, that's when I love my spreads. So yes, I do get that like planner spread envy, but I really just have to do what's best for my style and my preference. There are times where I get a little bit too decorative. This planner in particular, I have a couple spreads in here where I'm like, you did too much. Like, why did you do that? So I have been trying to scale back and like be a little more conscious of that and going with what's functional for me, specifically in this planner because it's supposed to be functional. So maybe thinking about the purpose of the planner and like evaluating what do I need to do for me for this to work for me. Also, when I'm getting that like planner spread envy, I will like channel it into my memory planner because that's like my fully decorative planner, and I will try out little trends and things in there, or I will just like throw myself into a spread and like go all out. So this one is kind of related to the last one. How do you stay true to your style and not fall into the planner trends? Because there are always trends, new ones are right around the corner, and it can be like kind of tempting to try them. One thing I like to do is follow all different kinds of planners on Instagram and just kind of get inspiration from all over the place. And also just like, yeah, I don't want to do that, but I want to see it kind of thing. So like bullet journaling, I don't ever see myself doing it because I'm a perfectionist, but I love looking at bullet journal spreads because they're just so beautiful and creative. So I kind of get my like my inspiration from them and like the fun from them from just looking at the spreads. So when I see one of the trends, I really think about like, is this for me? And also, does it fit into my budget? Because some of the trends can get really expensive. One of them that comes to mind right now is like the layering trend. I think it's beautiful. I follow a lot of people who do that. It's not necessarily my style. And also it's pretty expensive when you think about all the different sheets that you need. So that's one of them that I'm like, I love it, not for me kind of thing. Okay, also something you may want to do is look at your follow list on Instagram and weed out anything that's like tempting you in the wrong way. So there's a difference between like following someone for inspiration and then following them and they're giving you kind of negative things from it. They're not doing it on purpose probably, but you may be like tempted by what they're doing, and maybe you need to like mute them for a little while or unfollow for a little while, and there's like nothing wrong with that. I think that's healthy. Okay, the last few questions are about memory planning, which is one of my favorite things. Memory keeping has become a really important part of my life, which is weird to say because I didn't even do it until like 4 or 5 years ago, but it's become a part of my weekly routine and I treasure my memory planners. So the first question is, how do you choose which sheets to buy for memory planning specifically? So one of the things I look for, well, really I have like must-haves and then like to have things. So my must-haves are full boxes, bottom washi or washi strips of some kind, and boxes, like a variety of boxes. What I like to have are date covers and like decorative pieces. I love deco so much. I love putting it across the top and putting it throughout the spread. So I really look for kits that definitely have those must-have things, but then also maybe have like the deco and the date covers. So mini kits for me are a really good option because they really include everything I need most of the time. And whatever I don't have in kits, I can usually find in my collection. I like this one. I want to memory plan, but I wait too long. Help. I love this question because if you wait too long, it gets really hard. And it's something I had to learn because I was really, in the beginning, I was doing my memory spreads, like I was doing 2 of them every 2 weeks and just kind of like catching up. And it really did not work for me. For me, I really need to get it done like the next week. I cannot wait too long because as I get older, my memory is getting worse. I do make notes, like here is my little notepad that I make notes on. So I have that and that helps a lot. But I really like things to be fresh in my mind because I write a lot about big feelings and big events. That's my whole thing with my memory planning. And the feeling part, you really have to like have that fresh on your mind for it to be truly reflective. At least that's kind of been my experience. There are other ways to keep track of events, and one of them, maybe you have an old planner that you're not using anymore. Use that for your notes. A notepad like this is great. Even just a notebook where you write down the date and then what you want to include in your memory spread. Any way, it could be like a Google Doc as well. I did that for a while when I couldn't really write very well earlier this year, and that worked out great. One of the things that's really helpful is to get into a routine. So like I mentioned, I spend either Tuesday or Wednesday on a good week working on my memory planning, and it really just takes between 30 and 45 minutes for me to get it completely done. If I wasn't filming, it would take even less time. But setting aside time for it, where you are in it, you can watch your favorite show. I do it in silence, which I've said that before, and people are like, how do you just sit there in silence? I don't know. I just do. Sometimes I'll listen to music, but 9 times out of 10, I am like sitting there quietly, just journaling and laying down stickers. And it's really a good time for me to just chill out. So it's important I set aside time for it. For photos, if you're including photos in your memory planning, which I do, I save the photos I want to use for memory planning to an album. And then it's much easier for me to pull the pictures to make my collages. And so I can order pictures if they're in a specific spot instead of just like scrolling through my feed of pictures. What is that called? My like full, whatever it is. It's just a lot easier to find them if you do it that way. So I get my photos printed every week. Sometimes it's every 2 weeks if I get behind or I'm like out of town or something. I'll order like 2 weeks worth. But I really just have a routine of printing my pictures on, usually on Sunday or Monday, and then picking them up on Monday or Tuesday. So it's just something I do every week. It's part of my weekly routine, and that works really well for me. Maybe you have one of those little photo printers. That may make everything a lot easier for you. Or maybe you want to get into a routine of doing it every 2 weeks, and then that makes it easier because you don't have to make so many errands to go pick up pictures. Okay, this last question I thought was interesting because, you know, we don't really talk about leftovers that often. I have like my organizing leftovers videos, and people will sometimes like sell their leftovers in various Facebook groups or sometimes on their Instagram. But the question is, I have a hard time throwing away unused stickers. Any advice? Here's my advice. Find someone to give them away to, whether it's on Instagram, it's like a planner friend, or it's someone in your life who enjoys the hobby. So for me, it's my baby sister. She's not a baby, she's like 30. But she likes to go through my stickers and pull out the functional stuff and the decorative things that she can use. And she's on a budget too. So it works great for both of us with my YouTube filming and her functional planning. So if you can find somebody you can give them to, that's a really good option. Also, use Instagram, post on your stories, hey, pay for the shipping for this stack of stickers and give them a picture of it, and people will buy them. And you just, you know, have them Venmo you or PayPal you the money for the shipping, and then just like send them on their way. So there are ways to get rid of those unused stickers in a way that's not like throwing them away. I don't think I've ever thrown away, unless it's like bad stickers. If they're like not sticky anymore, then sure. But like if they're usable stickers, you can find someone to take them off your hands. So that's everything for this video. I hope that you enjoyed this planner advice and maybe learned something. If you have any other questions, you can definitely leave those down in the comments below. I'm always happy to hear from y'all. And if you want me to do this again, I'd be happy to. I love answering questions, whether it's in DMs or in videos like this. So if you want to see part 2, let me know. So if you did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit that notification bell if you want to be notified when I upload, and I will see you next time. Bye.